This video is a brief overview of the kinds of data that you can get from the SOFIA Science Archive at IRSA. I'm going to put in M42 and let it resolve the coordinates. I'm going to leave all the defaults except for purposes of this video. I'm going to ask for all of the data products. I'm going to let that go and then go back and explain that level 0 is the simplest level. It's the rawest possible data. Level 3 and level 4 are the highest possible data products available from the pipelines. So merged mosaics, extracted spectra, whereas level 0 is pretty much straight off the sky. If I go to the online help, you can see in the overview what kinds of data are available through this interface. Not all of the instruments were available all the time, and no Hippo data is available through this interface. But all the rest of the instruments that have green boxes, all of that data are available through this interface. So let's go back to here and go to the Results tab. Okay, so it's come back with 203 observations from many but not all of the instruments. And I'm going to tell you that even before it finishes, that it's going to time out for forecast and great because too many files are returned for it. But you can see there's a lot of footprints, many footprints stacked up here. So let's start exploring where we can the different kinds of files. So if I go to XEs, you can see that there's lots of different kinds of observations and lots of different processing levels. If I go to the Data tab here, it's doing the best that it can with the information that it has. Level 1, remember, is pretty simple data, and so it's just showing us the data planes that it has. It's just a FITS file, and it's scrolling through it the best that it can. You can view more than one of these files at once, or you can view them one at a time, and you can scroll through the planes of that individual data cube one at a time. Level 2 is a similar kind of thing. You can scroll through the individual frames from the file. If you go to the File Contents menu, you can see that there's individual data planes that you can jump through directly from this File Contents menu, or you can scroll through it from the HDU menu. You can also move through the individual planes within each HDU. Let's filter this down so it's just level 3. Now we've got some higher level products. It's trying. This is an extracted spectrum, which you may or may not be able to see on your screen. I see just the one line across the screen. If you view it as a table, you can see there's some more sophisticated things, but the header, this tool doesn't quite know what to do with because the information isn't provided in the FITS file in a sufficient form that the tool understands it. So you're going to have to get it into the documentation to understand exactly what these things are. The chart similarly is struggling. It's just plotting the first 2 numerical columns that it finds. But you can get into the documentation and figure out what these are. But for certain data products, like this one, the tool does understand. If you go to the File Contents menu, you can see the original HDU contents look like that other high-level product, right? It's got those columns, which are confusingly named. But if you go to the extracted data, the tool has managed to understand what those columns are. It is a spectrum, and it does understand what those values are. It's got the units right. It's plotted in a scientifically useful form, that spectrum for you, so that you can make an assessment as to whether or not you would like to download those data. So for the highest level products, the most scientifically useful products, it's doing its best to give you something that's scientifically meaningful. As you poke around, though, you're going to find other stuff that is maybe not so useful. So you're going to have to get into the documentation in order to understand what all of these files are, which parts of the pipeline they're from, and decide what you want to download and what parts of the observations are relevant to you and your science. If you go to the FIFI-LS data, similarly, there's going to be a variety of data products. Let's look at the level 1 data. So again, this is pretty raw. So the tool itself doesn't really know how to handle this information. So if we go to level 2 data, also pretty basic. There's multiple HDUs, and you can scroll through the HDUs and explore what each one of these HDUs are. But again, it might be difficult to understand what's going on. The higher level products, though, have more useful information. We've got some flux calibrated and wavelength resampled data products, and this has some more useful information in it. There's 2D images and extracted 1D images here. If we go to level 4, you can see there is additionally more information. Now here, we've got multiple HDUs, and each one of these HDUs has multiple planes, where each plane is a different wavelength. So if we go to WXY resampled, we've got this, and you can use the extraction tool to extract spectra at these locations, and it's done so in a sensible fashion. It's extracted the flux, but also the error, and propagated that properly, so that if you extract the spectrum and you go to the chart, that's a reasonable value for that extracted spectrum. Let's go back to the FIFI-LS tab and go back to the data. So you can extract spectra by hand that way from this data file. So you can explore the data products that way, and again, decide which ones of these files you'd like to download. If we go to FlightCam, FlightCam again has a variety of data processing levels. Level 1 again is low-level data products. So in this case, we've got some flats, some pretty basic data, some pretty low-level data products. Let's move this to just level 2 data products. And if we go to level 3, now these are calibrated data products. Start to look like the kind of images you expect. And again, they're multi-plane files. You'd have to get into the documentation that goes with these data to understand the details of what it is that we're looking at. Forecast, as I warned you, the quest timed out. FPI, there's no data. Great, again, that timed out. Hawk Plus, variety of data processing levels. If we go to look at the level 0 data, remember that's going to be really low level. So the tool isn't going to know what to do with some of this information, and the data that it shows may be some pretty primitive data. Let's go to level 2. Higher level data may or may not be calibrated in the ways that are needed yet to do science. Go to level 3. Now we have more calibrated data. Here again, we've got multiple HDUs with the information as given there. And we go to level 4 data products. And again, higher level products, ready to use data. Here, there may also be data preview files for Hawk. This is meant to give you an idea of what happens when you combine data at an even higher level than the data that are shown here. Now, because Forecast and Great produce so many data files, I can't show you the individual data files for M42 from those instruments, but it's the same idea where you have lots and lots of individual files. Level 0, level 1 are going to be low-level calibration files, very low-level files that are from the very early in the pipeline. Level 3, level 4 are going to be high-level data products that are going to be much closer to ready-to-use data. If you want to make sure that you have all of the data you need to do the data reduction from the beginning, you want to make sure that you get ready to do downloads from the AOR tab, because that will give you all of the data that you need from all data product levels.